need a quick gulp of coffee before this next conversation. Sure, you can relate. So the topic this week, we've been talking about being in the prime of our life, and it's a radical notion because oftentimes we do roam around in the past and think of uh, the old days. You know, those were the good old days, and yet what I'm saying is, and I'm certainly saying this to myself as well, is to uh, pull myself up short when I do that and discontinue that type of thinking, because these are the good old days. I'm currently involved in an adventure in my own pursuit to be in the prime of my life, where I'm just wanting to learn a bunch of stuff that I should have learned earlier in life, but I was distracted. But for me, it's a lot of that has to do with musical pursuit, which is absurd because generally speaking, you don't take up music from absolute scratch at age 65 and then, gain any sort of aptitude or competence. That's one way of thinking about it. Or another way of thinking about it is that you just start where you are and you do the daily application and you enjoy the progress, not perfection. And you're grateful for every day that you can learn and engage in something new and wonderful and interesting. Anyway, in my interest of music, on YouTube, there's just so many different musicians, so many interviews. And what always fascinates me is when an interviewer asks a musician about when they first started. And, these great musicians who've been in these awesome bands that we all love. It's like, well, I was 13 years old and I was in a band, and then, they kicked me out, and I met this other kid, and we seemed to, and the rest is history. And the phrase that you often hear is, it was just the right place at the right time. I was in the right place at the right time. So I really want to study that thought, that idea today, as we consider being in the prime of our life right now, the right place at the right time. Now, if we look at that phrase, if there's the opposite of that, if we're not in the right place at the right time, we're in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that's really significant, isn't it? It's like we're going through life, and these musicians talk about, or anybody with a great story says, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I got the right idea, the right support. Somebody else came along. It was this kismet. It was this serendipitous confluence of ideas and inspirations, and it was the right place at the right time. But we're always in the right place at the right time. And this is an important affirmation for us to remember, because the right place is right here, and the right time is right now. And the right place at the right time is always right here, right now. And that's never a one-time thing. It's an always thing. The signal of inspiration is always being sent. And if we're open to it, if we're receptive to it, if we're interested and fascinated by life, and if we constantly, gently remind ourselves that we are in the right place at the right time, because, the biggest selling, spiritual best-selling book of the last 40 years was The Power of Now. And it's not as though Eckhart Tolle thought of it. Throughout the Bible and other scriptures, now is the moment of salvation. Now is the appointed time. That if we're open to it and interested and fascinated and eager and ready and willing to engage with some enthusiasm in life, we can say in any given moment, I'm in the right place at the right time. Today is the day that I can run into the right person, the right connection, the right idea, the most interesting collaboration. So we're always in the right place at the right time. It's just so human to look back at a story like that and say, man, I could have missed, Paul McCartney might have missed getting on the same bus as John Lennon on a given day. And as they look back, oh, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. You listening to this are in the right place at the right time. And if we're thinking anything else other than that, we're actually practicing thinking, well, I'm not in the right place at the right time, which of course equals I am in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the only time that we can be in the wrong place at the wrong time is if we're not in the present and we're not here. So today, practice being in the right place at the right time, and we'll remind ourselves that's always right here. And if we engage, practice that sort, discipline ourselves into that sort of thinking, then new inspirations, collaborations, ideas will come that will keep life more thrillingly interesting than it's ever been. And that description of spiritualized consciousness that was so breathtaking that I read yesterday will be available to us right here, right now. So that concludes this week's discussion of being in the prime of our life. And we'll continue that moving forward into a million consecutive moments of now. See you guys.